Good day. Today's lab, chapter 4, physical. So what we're going to do is open up your packet tracer. Should be posted. Should have my teaching notes. And what we're going to do is start with going down to the end devices, grabbing a PC. So PC 0. So I really want PC 1. So we'll do this, drag another one out. Perfect. And I'll just delete this one. So highlight, hit delete key, hit escape key. Okay. So here's your PC. So what we're going to do explore is all these connectors. So let's take a look at the first PC. And if you go to your physical, you have all your modules. And if you click on them, it gives you all the descriptions. So here is the first one, the 1 AM, which is a RJ11. So that needs corrected. It's 1 AM. So that's for RJ11 telephone, and your baud rates would be 300 all the way up to 56K. So wasn't really fast back when we had dial-up. So let's bring out a switch. So go down to your network devices, click on this bottom row second. Let's do a PT empty. So the idea is to look at the connectors and the speeds and the shapes and what type of media, either copper, fiber, or wireless. So let's match up the PC currently. If you scroll down, you can see the NIC card. It is a 1C FE. So that is your fast Ethernet. Autosensing means it will switch from a straight through to a rollover, or straight through to a crossover. The third cable is our rollover for our line con. And then it'll be 10 base TX, which is copper. Looks like that's a duplicate. Correcting my own mistakes as I go. All right, so what we're gonna do now is look at the switch and see what's in there. So you can see that it's empty. Make sure we power off. And 1CE, I'm going to click on it and I can just drag it in there, or you can click down here and drag it up. All right, so now we have the 1CE. So that's going to be 10 base 100, so 100 meg. Let's get another PC out. PC2. Now let's change out the interface card. So if you expand the window, you power the button off, take the current NIC card, fast Ethernet, grab a 1FE, fast Ethernet, and you can see down here the descriptions. So now we need to add that port to the switch. So let's leave the switch on top here and do a 1 CGE. Now I'm going to need a few more, so I'm going to drag out a few more of those for the router and the wireless. So the next one on the list we're going to cover is the 1FEE fast Ethernet auto sensing fiber. Same speed. So what we want to do, once again, erase the duplicate. So this is fiber optic, so it's going to actually look different. So let's go to the, I'm sorry, we're going to do gigabit. So what did we put in here? 1 CFE. All right, let's put in a gigabit, 1C. So that's the 1 CGE. And so that is going to be your gigabit copper. Let's do another PC. So we're going to do fiber. So we got our gigabits out in our switch. And then if I look at my PC, also now has a gigabit 0. All right, so let's go to fiber, turn off your PC, take out your NIC card, the 1 FFE. So you notice what it looks like. It's got these two connectors, and I'll show you in lab where you can Google. So let's drag that fiber in. Then we're going to match up on the switch. The fiber, same module, fast Ethernet 10100. So the FX is for fiber and the TX would be for copper. So your F, so anytime you see F generally in a connector, it's going to be fiber, and you can see the different shape. And then now we're going to just grab the 1 gig fiber. If we look at the 1 gig, it tells you the models of the switches, and it's called GBIC. So when you buy the module, that's what it's called, a GBIC, and its speed is a gigabit. All right, so that's PC3. Now we need to be PC4. So let's go and turn that into our gigabit fiber, which would be the 1FGE. And once again, tells you the models of the switches it can go into. Or yes, these are switches. Now, last PC will be, turn it off, take it out, and we're going to go back to the RJ11. I'm sorry, we don't have RJ11 in the switch. We're going to do 1 CFE. That is your 10100. And we have our both fibers. Okay, so once we do that, now we want to do the cabling. So if you don't on your connectors, the first one here is a automatically, should not use that. Next one is your console, which is a rollover cable, pins 1 through 8, and they reverse 8 through 1. I'll kind of show you that in a diagram. Your copper straight through, that's pins 1 through 8, match up with pins 1 through 8. And your crossover, but you start switching your pins 1 to 3 and 2 to 4. So we'll kind of talk about that also. And then here's my fiber. And if I keep going, there's a phone for RJ11, coaxial, and then some serials, which we'll use later. And then some optical in your internet custom IoT of things and USB. So now we're just going to start connecting. So we need some straight through cables. So start with a copper straight through PC1. We're going to match up fast Ethernet to fast Ethernet. So Ethernet to Ethernet. I'm sorry, that should be fast Ethernet. So if you just click on it, click back. Ooh, didn't put one in. All right. So what I'm going to do is turn it off. Just put 1 CE in. Now let's see if we can switch to fast Ethernet. So if you click on the red dot, you can unconnect it. Put the right connector in. There we go. So fast Ethernet to fast Ethernet. Finally. Okay, so now we need gigabit straight through cable. Gigabit to gigabit. And then PC3 will be fiber. So we need to go down here and find the fiber. Just notice the connector is different, physically different, and also it's sending light pulses or LED laser or LED light. Now we're going to gigabit fiber. So back to fiber, gigabit fiber, and then fast Ethernet, or Ethernet, I should, sorry, to Ethernet. So fast Ethernet to Ethernet would be asymmetrical switching. Gigabit to gigabit would be symmetrical. Okay, so now let's get a router out. So back to networking. Pick the PT empty. So let's see what connectors. So it comes empty, so we have to buy these GBICs. So let's go down to gigabit. Put 1 gigabit in. So now we'll need to connect that to the switch with a straight through. Connect on your straight through cable to gigabit and open gigabit. Now this would be symmetrical. I think we should turn on the devices here. So that one's on. Let's turn our switch on. PCs are off. Okay. So once the switches or the PCs get turned on, the switch will start having a conversation. The lights will turn amber. And you want to fast forward the time so they turn green. Notice that the router, because it's not, remember, routers, they boot up with everything shut down. So real quickly, if you go into the config tab, that would be the GUI interface. Click on your gigabit and do on. And you notice down here, it actually does a no shutdown command. So this is a quick way to configure, but don't rely on it, please. Make sure you know your commands. Now it's amber. Okay, now let's bring out a laptop. And a wireless router. So that would be network devices down to the fourth icon, and get the home router. So that's right in the middle. Now let's connect that to the switch. If you hover your mouse, this has an internet and virtual access 1. It also has an interface of dialer 1, LAN, internet, gig, and all the wireless. So another kind of a physical. So let's see, to connect the router, click on it. Let's do the internet, because the other gigabits is a built-in switch. So this is going to go to the switch, and we'll just go into gigabit. And then the laptop here, let's see what kind of card it has. Oh, it has a wired card in it. So we must take this out. So take out the fast Ethernet, I believe. And let's go with the wireless AC. So the wireless 1WA is an older 5G, 5 gigahertz network, 802.11a, which is very old. And so we want to go to the AC, which is the newest, which it has 802.11ac, 802.11b, and N. Those are the wireless standards, and it runs on the 2.4 band and the 5 gigahertz band. So turn that PC back on, and magically, it should connect to the router. Okay, it didn't. So that's all the physical components that we're dealing with. So at this point, here's all your Wi-Fi here, standards that we'll be learning about, your 2.4. So it has different antennas that's running separate 5G and also 2.4. So versatile router. So let's go in now and do a real quick config. So once again, you can copy and paste during lab, but make sure we know the commands. And if you have questions, make sure you get with me. So we'll do enable, config T. So we went from user mode to privilege mode. Now we're in privilege executive mode. And then if my commands are correct, I can just hit paste. Okay. So if I go back and look, my host name, enable, VLAN, IP, no shutdown, username, domain, crypto key, didn't go in because I never finished it. All right, so we must repeat that command. So let's go crypto key generate RSA. And because we've done this before, I've used this switch before, we're going to replace them. And it's version 2 and must be above 768, powers of 2, which will be next chapter. Okay, so if this is configured properly, we should be able to go into the PC. Now we'll configure the IP. Quickest way for me is the desktop. So it's 192.168.100.101. Subnet mask automatically fills in because we'll talk about that in 2 chapters. because that's a class C address, has a default subnet mask 255.255.255.0, which is a /24. The gateway would be .1, 192.168.1.1. Okay, so that's done. So hold your mouse, hover, and you get to see your IP is .2. So let's go ahead and exit, show run. That's a running config. This is in RAM. So it looks like my config has been saved. There's my IP, warning. Ooh, so we're doing line con. And then also our VTY or SSH. So now let's ping from the switch. A lot of students don't realize they can do this. So it's ping 192.168.100.101. First one should be a timeout and then it's successful. So notice that in a network device, it's a little different than command line. So once again, let's go ahead and ping. In PC1, check your IP, verify it's right. Ooh, gateway's wrong. That would affect something. A little typo. Okay. So we'll go ping. So command prompt, ping, click in the window, ping 192.168.100.1.2. Okay, so I just pinged the switch. So now SSH should work. So SSH -L admin in the IP 192.168.1.100. Ah, typo. I'm hitting Control C right now because that usually will cancel. Okay, so cancel, put in the proper IP, and there's a password. I believe it's admin. And now we're in. So enable. So there's a show run in the PC, remote access. So what we've actually accomplished is going through this fast Ethernet cable into the virtual, into the switch through the port 71 to the virtual interface IP. Now, if we want to bring the router in, we can do a quick config. So we'll do, make sure we're in gigabit. So int gig 0/0. And then no shutdown, IP address 192.168.100. That's the hardest thing to remember what IP we're using. 255.255.255.0. Okay, so now we should be able to ping the router. Let's exit. So now I just left the virtual telnet session. I'm back into my PC command prompt, and now I can ping. I can just arrow up and then .1. And there you go. So remember, we can also go into simulation mode here. So we can actually see our layers in process. Speed it up just a little bit. Go back here, ping. So it's going to be Internet Message Protocol, layer 2 MAC addresses, no broadcast because there's no FFF. And then layer 3, it's a unicast from one PC to another. I'm sorry, one IP to another using the individual IPs, and it's not going any higher than layer 4. So just testing connectivity. So in this switch, we should be layer 2. And we see that the MAC addresses will not change as it travels across the LAN. We know that once it leaves the WAN, the MAC address will change. So into the router, we should expect layer 3, which we did, layer 3, back to the switch, and then back to the PC. So you can click on these individual events. And if you click through the next layer, it tells you certain things. So that would be the layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. So let's take a real quick look at this wireless. We're going to do a little wireless later, but so it's on the SID name. So the network name is default. Let's see what's going on in the laptop real quick. Wireless, you got to go. What did I put in this thing? I didn't put anything in it. No wonder it's not connecting. So here's the wireless card. Now if I turn it on and hit fast forward time, it connects automatically. Beautiful. All right, that concludes the video. I will see you guys in class.